by unanimous decision in his rematch. Avenged this loss to Sarasi. He looked different. He looked more attentive to like what was coming back to him, and he was more defensive in this fight. Reynoso made sure that he used his boxing ability more than being a slugger like the way he was in the first fight because Sarasi's pretty fast and he throws a lot of combinations. He's 26. He was 26 and 0 with five KOs, and he was fast. Like and that's the reason why he lost. Munguia took him lightly. I think Munguia was trying to be a brawler and not even counter punch him and time him. He was thinking more of just going straight at him without thinking twice, throwing the jab. I think Munguia is a limited fighter. I don't think he has much, but he says that he's willing to fight Belanga and anybody at 168. But I don't think that he can beat a fighter like Benavidez. I don't think he can beat Benavidez at all. But a Belanga fighting him would be interesting because he looked like he can box a little bit, with his limitations. But when he's at his best, he can box and do more. But he's very limited, and I think Belanga's limited as well. But it's going to be interesting to see how that fight will play out with Belanga versus Munguia. Right now, I'm doing this video live because I want to give my prediction and assessment of the fight between Skull and Canelo. I think Canelo Schmanelo, he's just picking and choosing right now. He's not in his prime, and if you watch the way Skull fights, the way he won his IBF belt against I think a Russian guy, I think he was undefeated, and he was using a posture, a boxing posture, like he has defense, but he's very limited. He doesn't master his defensive posture the way Floyd Mayweather would do it, or Shakur Stevenson, or Pernell Whitaker. Those kind of fighters like that, they master that craft of defensive skills, and they use that boxing pedigree style. But I think Skull is limited in his boxing ability. He is a defensive fighter, but he gets hit a lot. And if you have boxing ability and you get hit as much as he got hit when he won his IBF belt that Canelo's fighting for, I think that he's not as defensively as rounded as he should be. Hey, how you doing, Nalay? How you doing? Thanks for tuning into my channel. Subscribe to Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to my channel. Tony Alexander said hi. Peace. I appreciate you for tuning in. Subscribe to that channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. We're tuning into the Canelo Alvarez versus William Skull, the Cuban fighter. And I think Canelo knows what he's doing because if you watch William Skull's last fight, when he fought for the IBF championship that Canelo's fighting for, to be the two-time undisputed champion, I think that Canelo knows the reason why he fought him because he's very limited, and he fights at an angle, William Skull, but he does get hit frequently in spite of using a defensive posture. If you're a boxer and that's your style of fighting, you should master it before you fight a brawler like Canelo. And I feel like I appreciate that, Tony Alexander. I liked and subscribe. I appreciate that. Subscribe to Tony Also Knows Boxing. I appreciate all the love and support from everybody coming in here. You're going to get the real, unadulterated truth, the real boxing, the unadulterated truth, and I don't hold back on saying what I need to say. But I think that William Skull is very afraid and he's very nervous. If you look at the way the way he's been throughout the fight, like his confidence doesn't seem like he's really believes in himself. And I believe that this fight right here, Canelo chose William Skull to make it appear like he's fighting a technical, very skillful boxer in William Skull. But just because he boxes in a defensive style, that doesn't mean he mastered that style. So I feel like Canelo is using that tactic to fool the boxing public, to make them believe that he actually can beat a boxer. He can beat a boxer that's limited, a boxer that has boxing ability and a defensive posture like William Scope, which is limited, but he can't beat a boxer who has the skill like a Shakur Stevenson, like I say a Crawford. We don't know what's gonna happen in the Crawford fight, but I feel like the Crawford fight, I think that Canelo could lose that fight in spite of Canelo being really slick by picking a smaller guy coming from 147 pounds. But the business of boxing is these are two big names, and I feel that in spite of Canelo being slick and thinking that he could beat Crawford, I think Crawford is gonna give Canelo a rude awakening. But if he loses because of the weight, it makes sense why Canelo would win in a fight in a fight like that. But I truly believe that Crawford has enough skills to actually beat Canelo. Because Canelo's very flat-footed. So I feel like, yeah, he's in for a rude awakening. Even though I think they should not made a fight like that. They should make a fight like with Benavidez versus Canelo. But the boxing politics. But Turkey Al-Sheikh is gonna make a really great boxing card July 12th. Subriel Matias versus Puello for the WBC, and also Edgar Berlanga versus Shirisi, which Turkey Al-Sheikh has money on Shirisi. He actually wants him to become a champion. So Berlanga has to take that fight serious because if he doesn't, he's in for a rude awakening. But I think he lost to Adames, the Dominican guy, Shirisi. But you know, he gets the opportunity to fight Berlanga for I think a title eliminator. And I think the fight with William Cepeda versus Shakur Stevenson is going to be interesting, but I think Shakur Stevenson is going to dominate him, and it's going to be interesting while the fight lasts. I think the fight is going to go with a distance, and I think that Shakur Stevenson is going to dominate him. But I think it's going to be interesting in the very first few rounds with William Cepeda. I think William Cepeda is very slow, very telegraphic with his combinations, and I think Oscar De La Hoya is basically saying, oh, that William Cepeda is going to beat Shakur Stevenson because that's his promoter. But he truly knows deep inside that I don't think he believes that William Cepeda is really going to beat Shakur Stevenson. You see how slow he is. He's really talented, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's fast enough to do anything to Shakur Stevenson, because Shakur Stevenson, if you look at Tevin Farmer when he fought William Cepeda, it was actually a close fight, and I think Farmer actually gave him a tough fight, and he actually landed a lot of combinations in the 12th round against William Cepeda. So my prediction for Canelo versus Skull, based on what I seen, the limitations of William Skull, is that he is gonna get knocked out in the 4th or 5th round by Canelo. I don't think that he's gonna give Canelo any trouble with his defensive posture, because if you look at his defensive posture, he's not very dominant in his style. He gets hit easily. And when he won the IBF championship, William Skull in his previous fight, Canelo saw weakness and he saw the holes in his game. But the boxing public that doesn't really know boxing and they don't study it, they're gonna look at the fact that William Skull can box and he has a boxing posture and he has some kind of skills. They're gonna be misled to believe that just having a boxing defensive posture is enough to beat Canelo, a brawler, at his stature, which is not true, because if you don't master that style of the boxing pedigree and boxing ability that you're supposed to have, like Floyd Mayweather, Shakur Stevenson, if you don't have that level of boxing ability and defense, you're not gonna beat Canelo. You have to be like Erislandy Lara, who has a boxing pedigree in a high, skillful way. I think that Erislandy Lara outboxed Canelo. He beat him, but they gave the fight to Canelo because he's the bigger name and boxing politics. But I believe that Canelo's going to lose this fight by 4th or... No, not Canelo. I believe that Canelo's going to win this fight. He's going to knock out William Skull in the 5th or 4th round. It won't go past 6. That's my assessment. I could be wrong. It could be a stinker and it could last 12 rounds, but because Canelo hasn't knocked out people in a while. He's knocked down Charlo, I think he knocked out Caleb Plant was his last knockout. Caleb Plant. That was a couple of years ago. So I just feel like Canelo is not in his prime anymore. He's physically a lot slower than before, flat-footed, but he has picked the right opponents to make himself be relevant by fighting the limited fighters that he's chosen by Belanga, Munguia, and Jamel Charlo moving up 3 weight classes, and now he's going to try to do it again with Terence Crawford. But Terence Crawford is going to surprise Canelo. I really think he's going to win, in spite of Canelo trying to look for unfair advantages to have an advantage to beat Crawford by, but the boxing politics, that's how it is, But I truly believe that Canelo's going to win this fight, and he's going to win by fourth round knockout or fifth round knockout. I just don't see this guy, William Scoll, giving Canelo a puzzle, like a problem that he needs to solve. He's not as skillful as people are trying to say that he is. Because if you look at his last fight with for the IBF belt that Canelo wants to regain to be a 2-time undisputed champion, he didn't really take advantage of his boxing skills. Even though he did win the fight, he didn't master that style. Like he got hit a lot, even though he won the fight. I just feel that you have to master that boxing style to beat a brawler with Canelo's ability. But Canelo's choosing the right opponents so that way he can make the most money before he retires. Subscribe to that channel, Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to that channel, Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe. Don't be afraid to subscribe. I'm live over here, and I want you guys to understand that I'm giving you the quality that you guys need, and I'm making my assessment, and I believe that Canelo's going to win this fight. He might not look so pretty in the fight in the beginning, but I feel like he's going to eventually catch William Scoll. I think he's going to catch him, and William Scoll is limited, and I think Canelo has the opportunity to knock him out because he's not special. Like, he gets hit. Like, he doesn't have that much movement that'll, like, he could move. He has good footwork, but not enough to master that style like the way a Floyd Mayweather would or Shakur Stevenson. He's not on that level, and I feel like Canelo's going to be able to capitalize and really give William Scoll trouble because William Scoll hasn't mastered that style, of that boxing style. You have to you have to master your ability in boxing to beat a brawler like Canelo. But Canelo's not in his prime anymore. I always try to tell people that Canelo's no longer in his prime, but people are misled and they're gullible, and they think just because they have good they put Canelo chooses the right opponents to look good against in his last days. He's more flat-footed than before. That a lot of people get deceived and think that Canelo still got it. The only reason why he's winning these fights is because he's picking and choosing the most limited fighters to fight against. That's just simple, but a lot of people don't want to see it for what it is. So, yeah. So I believe that Canelo's going to win this fight. He's going to knock him out in the 4th round or the 6th round. But I don't think it's going to go more than 6 rounds. I could be wrong. It could go the distance, but I just believe that William Scoll is not skillful enough to survive against Canelo, even though Canelo is limited right now, and he's choosing the easiest opposition possible. He doesn't want to fight David Benavidez, so I feel like David Benavidez will end his career. That's why he doesn't choose somebody like David Benavidez. And it appears that Teofimo Lopez, after beating Arnold Barboza, which I'm not really impressed with that win, but I give him the credit for winning, he still got hit a lot by a slow, lethargic fighter in Arnold Barboza. Very slow. And he still was able to land on Teofimo Lopez. He had his moments. So he's talking about Jerome Boots Ennis, and he insulted Crawford and Shakur Stevenson. I don't think that Teofimo Lopez deserves to fight a Jerome Boots Ennis, and I don't think that he deserves to be back in the pound-for-pound list just because he beat Arnold Barboza. Because Tevin Tarver, what's his name? Antonio Tarver was saying that he should be back in the pound-for-pound list. I disagree. I don't think that Teofimo Lopez is the same fighter that he was when he beat Lomachenko. He hasn't looked good in his last 4 fights. In this fight, he looked decent, but is against the right opposition. You know, somebody slow. Arnold Barbosa don't have no power, and he avoided Superio Matias. And I feel like that they know why they avoided Superio Matias, because they know he's dangerous, and Teofimo Lopez don't want to smoke with him. So yeah, so Teofimo Lopez is trying to make the biggest fights possible before he retires, because he don't have it no more. He doesn't have it no more. If you really truly believe that Teofimo Lopez is as good as he's portraying, then you're really gullible, and you're easily fooled, because you can tell if you really know boxing and you follow somebody's the before and after, like when they were in their prime and how they declined. You know, because the reason why he's winning these fights is because the fights that he's having is more winnable. He's choosing winnable fights, but he's not choosing risky fights, because the only risk he's gonna take is against a Duran Boots Ennis, because he can make the most possible money before somebody else stops him that's not known, so or that's not as the same promotional level as Tank Davis or Shakur Stevenson. You know, like Superio Matias. Like, he knows that he don't want to lose against the Superio Matias, because he's not going to make as much money with Superio Matias as he would make with Duran Boots Ennis. So that's the reason why he's choosing to fight fighters that are beatable, that are limited, like Arnold Barbosa, that are slow. And now he wants to, deceive the public by making them think that, that he fought a really good fighter and that he should get his credit. So now he's thinking, okay, I can work my way to a bigger fight now, because I got that easy win with a limited fighter like Arnold Barbosa. He was decent, but he wasn't like an elite. And he feels that helped him to get possible bigger fights, that even though he knows in his mind that he's going to lose, because I don't know, like, I don't think that he really truly believes that he could beat Duran Boots Ennis, but he's going to give it a shot, because he feels, I'm going to make the most money possible. So if he loses to Duran Boots Ennis, he still makes a big bag. He makes a big amount of money before he actually loses to somebody else that's not at that stature. So that's why he didn't choose Superio Matias, even though he was going to make the most money in his career, more than Lomachenko. With Superio Matias, he chose not to take that fight, because if he fights Superio Matias and loses to him, then he's going to lose the bigger fights to make the most money before he retires, because he's no longer the same fighter like he was before. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Click the like button. I predict Canelo is going to win by 5th or 6th round knockout or 4th round knockout. Give me your comments. Send me your comments. Tell me what you think about the results and who you think is gonna win this fight, and how you think Canelo's gonna win. One love, Tony also. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing.